Torah, Vaeschanan, page 22, 10 lines or so, no, 15 lines into the first column. Okay, so the Rabbi is explaining the Maimer Shema Yisrael Shem we didn't learn for a few days, a while in fact. Shema Yisrael Shem Makena Shem Echad. He asked why does it say twice Havaya? Also, why did they make institute Baruch Shem between Shema and V'Hoya? And he goes into this whole question with I'm giving you life, death, you should choose life. Which person is not going to choose life? So he explains the whole union of the Rakia that splits the Mayim Elyonim and Mayim Tachtonim. The Mayim Elyonim represents Ruchnius, the Mayim Tachtonim represents Gashmius. And he gives the whole analogy of the body, the food goes in and the good separates to the blood and the bad goes out when you go to the bathroom. And he says, so how can a person reach that level? He says that's the level of Krishma. Shem Ayin, okay, Shem is a Gila of the world, is only a name. And even that is only a ray of the name. And the Ayin is said that the seven midas in the highest level. Okay, but Neshamas, he says, are even greater than all that, because the whole world was created with Dibur. And Neshamas come from Machshava. This is where we're basically up to now. Okay, we'll start like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about 15 lines from the top. Okay, so he said, what does it mean in the spiritual realm? Havaya Elokeinu, Neshama is Yisrael, all of Machshava. The Neshamas that come from the level of Machshava. Yosef Bechinas Hamshach Bechinas Dibur, much greater than the level of Dibur which the world was created with. Afilu Bechinas Malach, even the level of the angels, which is called Tzvam, V'inyan Shebechinas Havaya Echad, Einei Faloshin Echad. The word Echad is only by, this we learned already. The word Echad is Aleph Ches Daled. That means there's 7 heavens, there's an earth, there's 4 corners of the world. That means there's already a world, there's already Ishtalshus, there's Shemaim V'Oretz, which are the 6 Savitz Ruchnim. But the level of Havaya Elokeinu is the level of Yochid. But not the level of Echad, which means one, but there's many. Rather, it's the level of Yochid. Baruch Yochid, Umiyuchad, Hashem is unique. V'Levadihu, and the only thing that exists, like it says, Zera Yitzchak Yechidai. The children of Yitzchak, which is Ben Yochid, he was the only son, Yishmael doesn't count, but he was the only son. That's the level of Yochid, is the level of Chai, not only Chaim, Chai HaChaim, Shalamayla fin lebechinas Chaim Ruchnim, which is even higher than the spiritual life, which is Va'ata Mechayes Kulam Ata Eitzis Alutav. Okay, this is where we're up to now, really. And that's what it says, Mechal Kol Chaim. U'k'maimer Yochid Chayalam Melech. She is Baruch Yochid Umiyuchad. You know, this we also learned. Yochid Chayalam Melech, we learned that the what did we sing in Baruch Shamar? Yochid, Hashem is Yochid. There is no world. There's a world. Chayalamim, what is the life of the world? That comes from Melech, from the level of Malchus. That we learned that. Hashem is Bain and Bazeh. When a person meditates into Havaya Elokeinu, is really the level of Yochid Mamish. Like it says, Ato Yoinasi Achas. He ve'ein mashin Neshama, Hainu mashin Neshama Nikri Yechida. She'al Shem Shemekabelis Bechinas Yochid. Neshama is called Yechida. The essence of the Neshama is called Yechida. But Yechida is feminine. Hashem is Yochid, and the Neshama, the essence of the Neshama is called Yechida. So it says in Chassidus, and Rabbi is saying here, why is the Neshama called Yechida and Hashem is Yochid? Because Yechida is the feminine, the receiver from the level of Yochid. That means the Neshama doesn't get from Echad, which means there is a world. It gets to the connection to Hashem in the level of Yochid. So therefore, by day is been in the Zoom. Through meditating in this aspect, you'll come to love Hashem. The Rebbe was explaining, this whole thing is to explain how is it possible for a person to understand that the whole existence of the world is only in Hashem. Okay? So he says the ahavta means a mitzvah, he said before, and the ahavta also means you will love Hashem. How can a neshama in a body come to this level of understanding that v'ahavta Hashem alakecha, nothing else, but even b'chol levavcha, that even the Yetzer Hara also loves Hashem? He said that's only through the meditation of Shema Yisrael Havaya Elokeinu Havaya Echad, which basically says Shema Yisrael, Shem Ayin Yisrael, which is all of Machshava Yidin are higher than world, and therefore they're able to bring down Havaya Elokeinu, which is the level of Yachid, and then Hashem Echad, that even in the level of a world there's only Echad, there's only Hashem, and therefore when a person meditates into that, then he's going to come to the level of Yahavta Hashem Elokecha automatically.
Right, there are two levels of Echad and Yachid. Sometimes we learn the opposite. Echad is higher than Yachid.
Yachid is always higher than Echad. Yachid means there's nothing else but. Why do we say Hashem Echad? Really, Hashem Echad actually means a combination of Yachid and Echad. Because there isn't, not that it's, Yachid is much greater than Echad. But there's an advantage of Echad over Yachid. Just like if you have an Eved Neman that's completely bottled to the master, has no will of its own, but the master wants it once, and then you have Eved Pashut, the Eved that has his own will, but he subjugates himself to the master. So Eved Neman is much greater than Eved Pashut. Because he's reached the level, there is no will but the masters. Nevertheless, there's a Maila in Eved Pashut. There's a Maila in a Beinani over a Tzaddik. There's a Maila of Echad over Yachid. Because Yachid means only Hashem exists. Okay. What would be if there's competition? We wouldn't know. If there's a store in the neighborhood, it's the only store, and it's doing well. It doesn't mean it's a good store. There's nothing else. But when you show that the store is good, there's other stores, and they're still number one. That shows that's a Maila to say that store is very good over a Maila that's the only store and you're saying it's good. So Echad is a Maila that even though there is a world, it's still bottled to Hashem. But level-wise, Yachid is greater than Echad. Level-wise, a Tzaddik is much, much greater than the Beinani. But the Beinani as a Maila, the bittul of a Beinani, that he has the free choice within good and bad, is a higher bittul than the bittul of the tzaddik. The Eved Pashut's bittul is greater than the practical bittul, is greater than the Eved Neman. But level-wise, Eved Neman is greater, Yachid is greater, it's all the same thing. Okay, this is what Moshe Rabbeinu says in today's parsha. He says, when he starts talking about Mishnah Torah Dvarim, Shayamul Beis Pa'or, that it was opposite Vanesha Bagoy, Mul Beis Pa'or. Opposite Beis Pa'or. Why is he mentioning the name of a Getchka, the name of an idol? Upa'or Shema Veidazara. So why is he mentioning Vanesha Bagoy? We sat in Gai, Mul Beis Pa'or. Shadot Sulam Shechachat Mil Maila. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to bring Mamsha Vaneshev, means we sat. Okay, that means you lowered it down. When you stand, you're taller, and you sit, you're coming down. L'mayim tachtein shutan nigay l'mazel. Moshe Rabbeinu in Devarim wanted to be Mamshech, the level of Kedusha, in the level of Avodah Zarah. Okay, Inyan ben Seder Umeida. Seil of the Sefer Shabbatar Pashas Kiseitzei. Vayumasriz and Atzma. What was the Avodah to bring into the Kedusha, into the Pseit? L'chein is therefore Moshe Rabbeinu warned. Vanesh Bagoy Mul Beis Pa'or. Ki Gai, what is Gai? Is Bei Shiflis Vachno Bittul Elav Yisbarech, because Gai is a valley. That means it's lower, that's more Bittul, which is the opposite of Beis Pa'or. Because the pasuk continues, it says in this week's parsha, because anybody that went Mul Beis Pa'or, Hashem destroyed them. But you guys are alive. And Pirish Vanesha Bagai, Shlema, that's the Indian of Krishma, which is Meyushav, which you sit down by Krishma, the Krishma is Bechinas Bittul, and Mesidus Nefesh Echad. In other words, like this. Shemon Esrei has to be standing. Krishma, according to Kabbalah, is the world of Bria, right? The 4 levels of the Pesukei Zimra, before until Pesukei Zimra, Birchas Krishma. Okay. Birchas Krishma, Krishma is the world of Bria. Bria compared to Atzilus is Bittul. So Atzilus Amida, you stand, it's Bittul. Sitting is not it's not showing Bittul. On the contrary, if somebody older walks in, you stand up because that's Bittul. Sitting down is not Bittul. So Krishma is a level of Yeshiva, because even in the level of Yeshiva, he says, which is the level of Krishma, the Krishma, the level of Bittul, that means even in the level of Yeshiva, you have the Bittul of Echad. Complete Bittul to the level, so to speak, of Yochad. The Rebbe asked before, at the beginning of the Maimer, why is it that in the time of the first Beis Hamikdash, they didn't say Baruch Shem? Anshe Knesset Gdel established it in the second Beis Hamikdash. He says, Shahoyu Neshamis Gevayas, that lofty Neshamis, they were able to get via Hafta straight from Shema Yisrael. That means they were able, in their great neshamas, to be able to meditate in the Shema Yisrael Shem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that lofty level, and bring it right into via Hafta. Ideas brings the Vat Shema to come to via Hafta. Aval Achar HaChurban, when the neshamas are much, much lower, Ein Yochel Lagia Levia Hafta. Elay Shem Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Elen Voed, which is the level of Kabbalah Sol. Baruch Shem is Yichud Tata. Yichud Tata means I have my own will, but I have Kabbalah Sol, meaning I don't do my will, I do what Hashem wants. So in order to come via Hafta, they were not great enough to go from a lofty level into bring it down into the Yetzirah. They weren't able to do it. You can't go straight from Yichud Ilah to Via Hafta. They were able to. But nowadays we come from Yichud Ilah, from the level of Yochid basically, through Baruch Shem, which is Kabbalah Sel, then we and this answers the question that the Rebbe asked before. If Krishma is supposed to bring Via Hafta, we say Krishma 100 times, it still doesn't work. Why don't we feel the Via Hafta? Those Tanoim, of course, are Yichud Ilah. The Meiroim also Yichud Ilah. Also, trust me. Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah. Now, the Rebbe says in Stapa Shayach Adamuna, right before he starts Sheper Kalef. La'avim Mashakaza Bezayah, the Shema Yisrael Yichud Ilah, Baruch Shem, the Yichud Tata.
Which is Omar Shema.
Yes. You know, Kabbalah Sel means, Yichud Tata means I have my will, but I'm bottled to Hashem. That's Kabbalah Sel. Why doesn't everybody come to Via Hafta? Because now to come to Via Hafta has to be Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shemayim, and we don't have it. Which is Batul Ritzencha, Bitul Ratzon Agashmi, that's the Aved and Kabbalah Sel Malchus Shemayim. And he says, you need to have this complete bittul to Hashem. The melech b'layam, which is what's it called, coal that is still burning. Sheyesh v'davar afal became a vater l'tzein mikol v'kol. V'chol davar she'ena b'chinas bittul haratzin, ena aveda klal. If there's no bittul haratzin, in other words, if it's all what I want, that's not aveda. Because Aveda comes from the word Eved. Eved by definition means I don't do what I want, I do what my master wants. And none of us have that level, so therefore not coming to be a hafta.